Zimbabwe coup. Latest celebrations on the streets of London over Independence Day. Scores of people sang and danced in the rain outside Zimbabwe House on the Strand in central London today as they celebrated what they termed our Independence Day. The demonstration, which many attending described as a party, took place at the same time as tens of thousands marched in Zimbabwe's capital, Harare, to call for Mr Mugabe to stand down after nearly 4 decades in power. Jackie Luvv, who left Zimbabwe 20 years ago, said, "We are here to see a new Zimbabwe, the rebirth of Zimbabwe. We are calling it our Independence Day." The 34-year-old said her homeland under Mr Mugabe's rule offered nothing for her generation. She said, "There was no future for us. We had finished school, we were bright, but there were no prospects of anything." Mr Mugabe, the world's oldest head of state, is currently under house arrest as negotiations continue around him stepping down. Ms. Luvv said, "We are certain that he is leaving. We are going to do it peacefully though. The world is watching." Her school friend Audrey Chirowa said she had seen people from across Zimbabwe's political spectrum at the gathering in the UK capital, which she said was a reflection of Zimbabweans' desire for Mr Mugabe to leave office. She said, "I'm here because we have not had democracy in Zimbabwe since the 80s. We've never been able to protest. The police always moved in their riot gear." Ms. Luvv said, "What they did today is a sign of what is to come. People are ready for the change." Many in the crowd in London waved Zimbabwe flags and carried placards reading "One Zimbabwe, One Nation" and "Bob's not my uncle." Karen Insalata brought her 15-year-old daughter Georgia to Zimbabwe House for the party. The business consultant, who also left Zimbabwe as a teenager, said, "We never thought this day would happen. Anything is better than Mugabe. Every single one of us has been affected by this guy." Earlier, elated crowds filled the Harare streets as the campaign to force Mr Mugabe to stand down gathered pace. Many of the demonstrators were waving national flags and singing and dancing in an outpouring of elation at the expected fall of the 93-year-old despot. Zimbabwe's Public Service Minister Patrick Juwao said the popular protests had been orchestrated by the military to disguise its coup. Mr. Juwao, a nephew of the president, said Mr. Mugabe and his wife Grace are ready to die for what is correct and have no intention of stepping down in order to legitimize this week's military action. Speaking from a secret location in South Africa, Mr. Juwao said Mr. Mugabe had hardly slept since the military seized power on Wednesday, but his health was otherwise good. He said 7 people died during the military takeover.